My name is Chad Smith. I'm a learning and experience designer. Today we're going to be taking a look at YouTube and xAPI. We're going to be sending statements back to a learning records store utilizing YouTube's API. We're going to then embed xAPI into a web page, into an index file. That index file you can use to host on your server, your website, put it in your LMS, however you'd like to do it. So let's take a look at how we do this. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is where I got this from. So ADLNet did one a while back, and this is the basis for the one that I've built. But I built this one out to kind of suit my needs and to be a little bit more generic. So I'm going to put this up so anybody else that would like to use it can use it. So this is the xAPI YouTube video template that I made here. First thing I want to do is make it responsive because the other one wasn't responsive. So to make it responsive, we had to add some CSS code. So this is the CSS style that we add here. And you can see this adjusts our iframe and the size of our video, and this adjusts the container that the video is in. So if you set this to 100%, it's 100% of this container. The container ratio is set to 16:9. You can change that if you'd like with the top padding to 25 pixels. So the next thing we did was we made the positioning absolute. You could do that 50%, 50% and make it centered, or you can use top and left to center it. So I like to use top and left to center it. I put it at 100%. If you put it at 50%, it's going to be probably too much to the right, so you're going to have to probably do 25% left and then bump that over a little bit, and so on and so forth. But it's just really about playing around with it, taking a look at it, and seeing if you like it. So to do that, the first thing that we would do is we would just simply open up our file. Let me grab that file real quick, and I can just drag my index file here. Now you can see it's like the JW player I built. It's coming up and it's asking for your name. If you hit cancel, it's still going to send statements back. It's just not going to send statements back with a defined name. If you put your name in here, it's going to send statements back to your LRS utilizing that. So okay, so we can see that this is our xAPI YouTube video template, heading 1, xAPI YouTube video template, heading 2. You can adjust this coloring and everything by using the HTML that I've put in here, font size, you know, whatever you'd like, or you could use CSS if you'd like to do that, if you're a little bit more adept at coding. But you can see everything's here. It fits nicely. I've made this a responsive project, so you can see it does respond and resizes. So the first thing I was going to say is if I wanted to set this, say, to 50%, and I save it, and I refresh here, you can see that it has resized it, but it is putting it too far to the left. So as I was saying, I need to adjust that to about 25%. I bet it'll do. And then see, it puts it right there in the center. So now we have it centered. So you just have to play with this depending on where you would like it at on your page. To bump that up, you just simply need to change your aspect ratio, bottom padding there, and that will do that. If we take a look at, So if we take a look at developer, go to developer tools, and we can take a look and see that right now our xAPI is not working simply because we don't have it hooked up to the learning record store, so on and so forth. But we can also look at our elements, and you can look at the padding, and you can make an adjustment and see like this section is your padding section here. So when I go and click that, I can see, okay, well, I can make whatever adjustment I need to make to bring this up to wherever I'd like to bring it to. So enough about that. This isn't really about coding or whatnot, but I just wanted to let you know that's where you would make those changes, and you could just kind of play around with it, save it, unsave it, and just till you get it the way you want it to look. So the next thing was, this one is a little bit different than the last one. So we have our body here with our information, and then you have your YouTube container, and that's what's containing the video. You don't see it here, but it's all around. And then you have the player, which is here. This is just where the video is at. And then we are controlling that, making it responsive by using this CSS up here. And that is what is making this video container responsive. And you can say below the container we have this information here, and you can change it as you would like. And again, it has some HTML5, so you can adjust and change the font size and all that stuff. Then we have our JavaScript files. Statements are being sent here. It's utilizing JavaScript, so it's not as much on the HTML side and more JavaScript to actually send the statements to the learning record store. So we're using the YouTube statements JavaScript, the video profile JavaScript from YouTube, and then the xAPI mini JavaScript wrapper, and that's what we're calling back to, which we have in our folder here. Here's our wrapper, and here's our JavaScripts. I need to go ahead and remove this one. So I tried to utilize some JavaScript to resize the video, make it responsive, but I found it was easier to do it with the CSS. So I went that route. Here's where you'll put your video in for YouTube. And the interesting thing here is if we go to YouTube real quick. And we'll just pick any video here, pause it. If we go in and we go to share, this is what you want right here. These last few numbers in YouTube, from the 9 to the O. That's what you want to copy, and that is what goes here. Not the entire web address, just the identifier for the video. So that's what you'll put right there. Then this is where your endpoint will go, your user name and your password will all go in this area here. I have this asking for their first name whenever they log in, so you can see it asks for your first name. I just like to keep up with my learners that way. I think it's an easy way to do it. But you can have that call out to your LMS and pull an xAPI statement that will pull the learner's name or whatnot, or you can put a fixed name in. whatever you'd like to do. But if you want to remove that, you can just simply cut that out of there, and you could remove that if you wanted to. So then this is our xAPI actor, and it's been defined for all of our statements here. Our object, which is defined for our statements, and then the function that calls out to the JavaScript and makes these attached to each statement as you press play or whatnot on the player. And this is the YouTube API, and this is the YouTube player that's defined. Most of this player is overridden with the CSS code that we saw at the top, but the player variables will not be. So you definitely need that. And then the height and weight and everything will be overridden by the CSS at the top. And then that's it. That's the end of our index HTML file. And that's the only thing that you need to adjust to send statements back to an LRS. So let's go ahead and take a look at ADLNet and sending statements through ADLNet. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our LRS settings. We're going to go to info. On info, we're going to go ahead and copy this endpoint, and then we will paste that right here. Remember, when you paste your endpoint, you must have the backslash at the end or it will not work. So make sure you put your backslash at the end. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and paste our API key here. And this is a little bit different than we did the last time. It's just another method that you can use, and both methods work fine. This is just a different method of putting the password in. So it just depends on what you're most comfortable with or what you would like to use. So always change that if you want. Save this. And so we can see that our last statement here was from Bill, and that was back on April 11th. So we're going to come here and refresh. We will put our new name in. We'll go with Jim this time since we already did Bill. Okay, we can see our video loads. We have our heading up here. We have our video, and then we have our xAPI registry information here. So we will go ahead and play this video. So we can see the video is playing fine. With this, it doesn't track the mute and unmute. So that's one of the limitations that we have, but you could always add that statement if you wanted to. And we can see that it's scrubbing forwards, backwards, playing. What's that thing we need to do? See, we need to end this thing at some point here. So we can show completion. Alright, so there we go. So now if we go back over here to ADLNet, and let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so we can see everything here. If we go back over here to ADLNet, we can see that the video just initialized, played, paused, played, paused, played, and completed. And you can see it doesn't have an actor's name. The object name is the code for YouTube. So this is the YouTube video code. That is your object activity name. And if you want to go in and put a description in, you can do that. So we know we sent an actor name back. So it's like, I was wondering, why is this not showing up? So when I went in here and I looked at the actual statement that we sent, we can see that there's Jim right there. There's his name. Actor name is coming back. So for whatever reason, ADLNet is having an issue with the LRS is having an issue with populating the name on their site. So it's not the statement. The statement's going through fine. It's the ADLNet site that is not populating that name. And you can turn on here and you can see this is just the statement that we sent, and you can take a look at those statements. You can see where one of the videos was abandoned, which means it was exited out of. You can see where we seeked back and forth. So you can see it's displaying the proper verbs. It's displaying the proper activity name, which is the identifier for the video. In the actor's name, LRS is not populating that. And then the description, we didn't put one in here on this, so that's why there's not a description there. So when I say I'm a fan of Learning Locker, it's little things like that that make me a fan of Learning Locker, when you see that, you know, something's not populating or whatnot. So, but this is a great tool to use for testing out your site. It's a wonderful tool. So that is how you put xAPI in YouTube. And let's take a look real quick before we end this video, and I will show you these statements and what they look like when you do them in JavaScript. So these are statements just like our HTML5 statements that we sent the last time, but these are statements that are being sent in JavaScript. And here's the JavaScript that is sent in the statement, and it just allows you to automate your statements a little bit easier. So you can go in here and you could add maybe a muted in here if you wanted, or whatnot, whatever you'd like to do. You can come right in here and you can add it to the statements here, and you know, you could adjust anything you wanted, make it display a different you know, something different besides the YouTube ID. Whatever you want to do, this is where you would do that. You can play around with your statements at. So that is it on xAPI and YouTube. It's pretty easy stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and put it up on GitHub, so you can go to GitHub. You can download these files directly from GitHub. Once you download the files directly from GitHub, you can follow along with what we did. You can get a ADLNet account. I'll put that information in the comments below. I found this cool tool, and it's something that you're definitely probably going to want to take a look at. And this is just a bunch of resources that's been collected on Trello, xAPI resources. So all kinds of stuff here, MOOCs and everything else. So take a look at that. As always, the source code created off of, and then ADLNet. So thank you for watching my YouTube video. I hope that I'm able to help you out. If you have any questions, you can always leave a comment or reach out to me directly. Have a wonderful day.